I was exactly right when it comes to Donkey Kong Bananza and the timing of this game compared to when other people were feeling it should have been released. Now, there was this thing online that I've seen also people say on the comment section, because Donkey Kong Bananza's great review scores, obviously fantastic game. I've been playing it. I'm 20 plus hours in, but that should have been the launch game, or that should have been there right at launch with Mario Kart World, and we can just have like a big 2-month drought or something like that. But I heard so many people say that online, even big content creators. But now we actually have a bit more sales numbers that are coming through. And don't get me wrong, Donkey Kong Bananza is incredible. I think that it's a fantastic game and it's doing really well, like we're going to go over. We got the debut Japanese sales numbers. There's the US position charts that we're seeing so far with Amazon, and the eShop is doing incredible. But Mario Kart World is still the game that the casuals want to play and that bring in the biggest, largest base of people, and it's pretty much been confirmed in one of the largest markets for the Nintendo Switch 2 when it comes to per capita people to the amount of systems being sold. Japan is right up there overall. So let's get into what happened here with the Famitsu sales. This is for July 14th, 2025 through July 20th, 2025, debut sales of Donkey Kong Bananza, and a massive restock for the Nintendo Switch 2 that saw sales double over the previous week, as a little bit of stockpiling was happening for the launch of a big first-party game. So Donkey Kong Bananza opened up at 127,905 retail copies. Now remember, this does not include the digital eShop, where Donkey Kong Bananza is #1 on there. So also keep that in mind. It's about the 6th best opening for a retail physical release for Donkey Kong in Japan. Still really good, but underneath Mario Kart World, that game sold 135,370 copies. So essentially it swallowed Donkey Kong Bananza whole overall. And in terms of a new release, Mario Kart World did better despite being on the market for a number of weeks. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold 68 million units plus on the Nintendo Switch 1. So the game is just one of those massive evergreen type of sellers that's always going to attract people to buy whatever platform it is on. The big winner here, Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bananza, and the Nintendo Switch 2, because once again, huge restock in Japan after a 71,000 plus unit week the previous week. Now at this point, 152,165 units in Japan. It's still a lottery system. They're still selling out every single week. Any stock that they have, it's pretty much sold. So Donkey Kong Bananza helped usher in a bunch of new people, on top of people just wanting to get Mario Kart World, still waiting to get their Nintendo Switch 2. So overall, really good debut for Donkey Kong Bananza. Obviously great to see that the Nintendo Switch 2 got a nice restock in Japan, and expect this to continue throughout the rest of the year and into next year as well, as we're probably going to see very high sales numbers and even bigger numbers as we head towards Pokemon Legends ZA and that new bundle that was announced. It's going to be a big holiday season, so Nintendo's going to have to be on point to make sure that they keep everything stocked up, because the games are starting to pile up now at this point, and we probably have a Nintendo Direct coming that's going to reveal more games and release dates for other big titles this year that should do really well in Japan. But before we get into the next topic, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and click that notification bell to get my vids as soon as they drop. And let me know what you think about Donkey Kong Bananza's opening week sales. Now let's go ahead and jump into the next topic here, and we're going to be discussing what is happening with those other games that are supposedly coming to the Nintendo Switch 2 from Microsoft and Xbox. Now, there was a lot of talk and discussion saying, hey, where were the games from the Summer Games Fest or from the Xbox show that were multi-platform, that were on Xbox, and specifically more the Xbox show? Some people were saying, well, wait a minute, you're on PS5, what's happening? I thought they were going to put out stuff on the Nintendo Switch 2. Well, according to some more information that's coming out, once again, we have to wait and see, but according to some more information, Xbox is expected to announce more game ports for not only the PlayStation 5, but also the Nintendo Switch 2 in the coming weeks. Now, this is a report from the Game Business. Christopher Dring, he's reporting this, and he's talking about how that Microsoft is preparing to announce a variety of different titles for the Nintendo Switch 2 and the PlayStation 5 in the coming weeks. Now, it's not clear what games are going to be coming over, but here's what he had to say. Quote, Xbox is expected to announce more game ports to other platforms, including Nintendo Switch 2 and PlayStation 5 in the coming weeks. Meanwhile, PlayStation is bringing its hit shooter Helldivers 2 to Xbox in August. So there's a bit more multi-platform stuff that's going to be happening. Nintendo is still holding really strong though when it comes to exclusives. We have not seen any of their big first-party titles on any other platforms outside of specific mobile games made for the mobile audience. Now, we haven't seen anything like Super Mario Odyssey, for example, on mobile or on Xbox or PlayStation. So something like that is different from Fire Emblem Heroes or something like Mario Kart Tour. That's a very different type of experience. So some people are wondering if that's ever going to happen, to where if Nintendo's going to put stuff on other platforms. But Microsoft, in terms of what they're doing, it's not because I think that they wanted to, it's because they kind of have to, based off of how the console sales are going and how they have to continue to have revenue coming in, and a lot of revenue after acquiring $100 billion worth of studios. You need to make that money back, and you need to make that money back now. They've been shedding expenses as well, so they're trying to formulate this thing to where it can net a ton of revenue, and profit is one of the things that they're looking for. So obviously releasing on the Nintendo Switch 2 and PS5 is going to help boost your profits. Stuff like Forza Horizon 5, for example, that game has sold over 3 million units reportedly on the PlayStation 5, generating a ton of revenue, probably being incredibly profitable based on how much it took for them to actually port that game over. So I would expect to see something like Forza Horizon on the Nintendo Switch 2, in addition to probably Halo or Gears. I think those games are coming. There's been some rumors about Starfield and maybe some other things, so we'll see what happens. Maybe at this next Nintendo Direct, we will see what Microsoft has planned for the Nintendo Switch 2, and of course other weeks we'll see maybe more games come out for the PlayStation 5 as well. So that's going to be interesting, because I remember there being a super big shock, for me at least, just seeing something like, for example, some of Microsoft's games coming over to PlayStation 5 or even to the Nintendo Switch 1, where we got some of that stuff. So we'll see what happens overall. Microsoft is obviously in a very interesting position now at this point, as they transition to kind of like a third-party console manufacturer and publisher slash developer. Really weird, unique type of role, but it looks like that's what they're going to be doing, and that's what is planned for them specifically. So what do you guys think about Xbox and what's happening here, and potential big games coming over, maybe even an announced Nintendo Direct coming soon? Let me know in the comment section below. Okay, so we got an update on Borderlands 4 for the Nintendo Switch 2. This was a game that I wasn't necessarily super excited to play myself, just because I'm not the biggest Borderlands fan out there. Used to be with Borderlands 1 and 2, but kind of fell off after the sequels and some of the other spin-offs and things that they've done. But we do have an update on what they're going to be doing with this game and how it's going to perform on the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, we did get the update that the game is not going to be dropping at the same time. The launch date for Borderlands 4 on the Switch 2 is October 3rd. The game is coming out in September for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. And now Randy Pitchford has given us a little bit more information on what we can expect from the performance of the game. And it's not necessarily great overall. So here's what he had to say when fans asked about the Switch 2 version of the game. Quote, "It was important for us to not cut anything and to support cross-play with other platforms," he said in a reply to another fan. "So no, it'll mostly be around 30 FPS with some dips in some intense moments, heavy combat, or hosting a multiplayer game in handheld mode, etc." Randy also confirmed on Twitter that the game will probably be a game key card, because someone asked him about, hey, can you please make it on a 64 gigabyte cartridge? And Randy had this to say: "It's a big game. There will be a download, even for physical copies." So that definitely leads more to it being a game key card. We haven't seen any game yet on the Nintendo Switch 2 that is that hybrid game key card slash physical game like we saw with Switch 1, where you have a certain amount on the cartridge and then some that you download online. Mortal Kombat and a few other titles have that, but we haven't had anything like that on the Nintendo Switch 2 just yet. But it does probably lead to the game being a game key card, but we will wait for that official confirmation overall. Now, when asked about Borderlands 3, he had this to say: "Borderlands 3 was not made for Switch 2, Pitchford said. "I want us to get on that and see what we can do. We need some help and we need some time. Borderlands 4 is everything right now." So it's one of those things to me that with the Nintendo Switch 2, I know you're not going to get the same performance as Xbox and PlayStation, and that's okay. Sometimes you can, depending on the game. A game like Street Fighter 6 or some other titles, WWE, you can get those to where it can look and run very similar to the PlayStation 5 version of the game, depending on what they're trying to do. A game like Borderlands 4, which is a huge open world type of game and everything. I get that, not being able to run it at what PS5 is going to, but 30 FPS with some dips, and they're handling this in-house. Not necessarily the best when it comes down to it. Like, we need to see some DLSS in there. We need to see kind of what they're doing overall, because I do feel that Borderlands is a game that plays great at 60. If you can play it at 60, it plays really good. Now, it's not unplayable at 30. I played Borderlands, the original, and I played Borderlands 2 on the 360 at that, but 30 with some dips is something that maybe won't be appealing to most people out there, especially if you have versions that are going to run way better at the 60 FPS with a bunch of stuff happening and everything. So this game was never a day one buy for me, but I wanted to make sure that I talked about it so those who are looking forward to the game on the Nintendo Switch 2 kind of weigh their options on what they want to get it on based off of potentially what the performance we're seeing right here. But once again, we'll wait till the game actually launches. We'll see the Digital Foundry analysis. We'll see all that, and we'll see how bad or not bad it is. If it's just a few slight dips here and there, then okay, I think people are going to be okay with that, considering it's a version of Borderlands that you can take anywhere that you want. But if it's constant dips and it doesn't feel great to play, and there's input, kind of the laggy 30 FPS that we've gotten with other games, then yeah, it might be a pass for many other people out there. But what do you guys think when it comes to Borderlands 4 and what they're saying here, the potential for Borderlands 3 for the Nintendo Switch 2? Let me know in the comment section below. Now we're going to move on to a very interesting and final topic here from a leaker, or a proposed leaker, that states that Metroid Prime 4 remains unfinished at this point and it's missing some of its development milestones. So Kiwi Talks, he's talked about a lot of different stuff. He definitely talks overall, and he discussed some stuff with some Retro Studio employees in the past and posted on social media stating that Metroid Prime 4 is still not quite yet done yet and has been missing some development milestones that Nintendo is looking for. Now, he didn't mention that the game is going to get delayed. He didn't say anything about that, and he says that he actually expects a firm release date to be given at the next Nintendo Direct presentation that is rumored before the end of July here. But we'll have to wait and see exactly what's happening, and I'm guessing that maybe there are some things that are happening with this game, and that's the reason why Nintendo has not given a firm release date, but not at this point. They're wrapping up development, they're making sure everything is solid, and they can have a solid date for Metroid Prime 4. Now, we'll have to wait and see exactly when this is coming. People just don't know. I've gotten all sorts of anticipations and guesses from various different people. Some people think it's going to be a September type of game. Some people think it's going to be maybe October, November, December. Who knows where it's going to be? Now, at this point, if you're taking what he's saying at face value, I think maybe a November release would be something likely at this point. Now, if you go back to Metroid Dread, that was an early October release with the Nintendo Switch OLED. They kind of paired those two together, and Metroid Dread had the best opening and the best overall sales for any Metroid game to date, individual sales per the platform. So I do think that Metroid Prime 4, while it's not the biggest holiday game for everyone to go out there and play, it still is something that's going to get a lot of interest and people wanting to check out the Nintendo Switch 2, as it's going to be able to run at 120 FPS, or it's going to be able to run at 4K 60. It's got some really nice tech to it overall. You've got the mouse mode as well. So it's going to be a big game for the Nintendo Switch 2 for those core gamers out there that want the best Metroid Prime 4 type of experience. So I expect it to do well when it comes to the Metroid series, and I expect it to attract a certain type of gamer who maybe isn't into Donkey Kong, Mario, or Pokemon, but definitely would like to check out a game like this. So it's still an important key piece to Nintendo's puzzle for 2025 and to selling the Nintendo Switch 2 in this first year, and we'll see kind of how it does once it does release when it comes to the review scores, and of course what fans think about it themselves as well. But yeah, I'm excited, man. I think Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is going to be a great game. I think that they're setting it up when it comes to using the Nintendo Switch 2, utilizing that system, but then also having it for the Nintendo Switch 1 players out there, because that's a huge install base, and of course making that commitment, because this game was originally announced in 2017, got scrapped, rebooted around late 2018, 2019, and now it's finally ready to go at this point. So we'll just see how it all works out. But yeah, Metroid Prime 4, looking forward to the game. Looks pretty good based off of what Nintendo showed in that Treehouse Plays with the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct and all that. Looked super cool. So I think that the game is going to be okay, and it'll be ready to go once Nintendo has that release date set for us at this upcoming Nintendo Direct, and potentially even Metroid Prime 2 and Metroid Prime 3 as well. Maybe we get those shadow dropped sometime soon. So what do you guys think overall when it comes to Metroid Prime 4 and what is happening with the game, in addition to all the other stuff that we talked about from Donkey Kong, Switch 2, Xbox, and more? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.